Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Welcome to the 69th Annual Interlakes Cooperative School District Annual Meeting. My name is Jim Michelin. I'll be your school district moderator tonight. And as a proud 1974 graduate of Interlakes High School, it gives me double pleasure to be here tonight. I'd like to share some general information with you. No smoking or vaping in the building or on the grounds. The meeting is being audio and video recorded to assist with the minutes. The exits are plainly marked on either side at the event of an emergency. Use of cell phones will be restricted to areas outside of the meeting room. Please silence or preferably shut off your cell phone. The meeting is not conducted under strict Robert's Rules of Order. They're a modified form of Robert's Rules. And voters will have to use their voting cards, which hopefully you all got when you checked in, when we vote. And down at the bottom of the voting cards are tear-offs, which will become increasingly more important as the meeting goes along. At this point, I'd like to offer an invocation that was written a number of years ago by a friend of mine, an old friend, Lee Rauner, up in Sandwich, a great man. We give thanks that we live in such a lovely place among such good neighbors. We come now as stewards of this heritage to do the business of our community. We hope that we have the courage of our convictions, but are gentle with one another, respectful of the views we do not share, mindful of the faint but humbling possibility that we may be wrong. We hope for wisdom, brevity, and restraint when we have nothing to say, but are overcome with the urge to speak. We are thankful for this opportunity to actively participate in democracy in our community. I'd like at this time to ask any veterans that are in the crowd to please stand up. Any veterans? So that we can thank you for your sacrifice and your courage that help make us be able to be here tonight to perform these great acts of democracy. At this time, I would like everybody to stand. And we'll have the singing of the national anthem led by senior Hazel DeSori Kay and juniors Thea Wright and Hannah Nesbitt, which will be immediately followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by sophomore and school board representative Caleb Terrio.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce those people sitting at the head table, and I'll start to my immediate right with Mr. Charlie Hanson.
I'm Charlie Hanson, representative from Center Harbor.
I'm Barbara Lohman. I'm the school district attorney.
Mary Moriarty, Superintendent for SAU2. Ashley Dolliff, Business Administrator.
Caleb Terrio, School Board Representative.
Mark Billings, Meredith representative to the school board.
Duncan Porter Zuckerman, representative of the school board from Sandwich.
Nancy Starmer, representative from Sandwich.
Jim Locke, representative from Center Harbor.
Ed Twaddell, representative from Meredith.
And I'm Siobhan Connolly, the at-large member of the school board.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go over just quickly a few rules of the meeting so that we're all on the same page. These are listed on page 3 and 4 of your hymnals. Anyone wishing to make a motion, second a motion, or wishing to speak to an article must first be recognized by the moderator. All speakers must address the moderator. There'll be no cross-floor debates. When recognized, please indicate you wish to speak. We'll have one of the microphone runners come to you. We have 4 young men out here tonight. 7th graders Sam Najum, 9th graders Joseph and David Najum, and Hayden Hebron. So if you just indicate you'd like to speak, we'll have one of the young gentlemen come over to where you are. A motion to call the previous question can cut off debate, and if seconded, must be voted on immediately. The motion is not debatable, and so a 2/3 favorable vote is required. Voting will be done by a show of voting cards. 7 voters may challenge the declared vote on any article before the next article is brought up. Then a secret ballot must be held. If a secret ballot is desired on any article, a written request signed by 5 voters in attendance at the meeting is required to be presented to the moderator. And I'll advise you already have one of those for article number 4. Any article may be legally amended. Each amendment will be discussed and independently and acted upon before the article is called. A motion to reconsider an article may be made at any time prior to final adjournment, and the article would be taken up again immediately unless protected by a vote to restrict reconsideration. 5 voters in attendance at the meeting may request a recount of a secret ballot before the next article is taken up. The vote margin must be less than 10% of total votes cast. Only registered voters may vote. Only registered voters, school officials, and the district attorney may speak to questions unless the meeting votes to allow anyone else to speak. The moderator can be overruled by a simple majority vote. Any challenger will be recognized and no second is required. The challenger has the right to state his or her reasons for the challenge. The RSAs, the revised statutes, annotated to the state laws, cannot be overruled by the meeting. The moderator will only vote in order to cause a tie, which will cause the question to fail, or to break a tie, which will make the motion pass. And lastly, I'd just like to remind everybody that we all live in small towns, and that the person who's sitting next to you, whose views might be diametrically opposed to you, might be the same person that comes along tomorrow to pull you out of a snowbank or fix your refrigerator. So please be civil and be gentle and say what you have to say, but keep it in a civil manner, please. People wishing to speak, when the runners get to you, please state your name and the town you're from for the record. And at this point, if you turn to page 17 in your hymnals, we'll get on with the meeting business. To the inhabitants of the Inner Lakes Cooperative School District, comprised of the towns of Center Harbor, Meredith, and Sandwich, qualified to vote on district affairs. You are hereby notified to meet at the Inner Lakes Community Auditorium, Inner Lakes Middle High School, Meredith, New Hampshire, on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, at 6 o'clock in the evening, to act upon the following subjects. Article 1, see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,500,000 for the purpose of 2 boiler replacements, one at Inner Lakes Elementary School and one at Inner Lakes Middle High School, and HVAC improvements at Inner Lakes Middle High School, $1.5 million, $1,500,000 of such sum to be raised through the issuance of bonds or notes under and in compliance with the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33:1 et seq, as amended, to authorize the school board to apply for, accept, and expend federal, state, or other aid, if any, which may be available for said project, and to comply with all laws applicable to said project, to determine the rate of interest thereon and the maturity and other terms thereof, and to authorize the school board to take any other action or to pass any other vote relative thereto. Furthermore, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $367,500 for the first year's principal and interest payment for the said bond. The Inner Lakes School Board recommends this appropriation. It will be by secret ballot. It requires a 3/5 ballot vote. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move the article.
Moved by Mr. Billings,
Mr. Moderator, I second the motion.
second by Mr. Twaddle. Is there any discussion?
Ankles a problem. Richard Gherkin, Richard R. Gherkin, not to be confused with my son, and Meredith resident. A couple of years ago, to my recollection, we approved, or we I have knowledge of the fact that we converted or made changes to our system, heating system, to go to different fuels. How does that run, that change affected by what you're proposing here?
So I'm wondering if you're referring to in the past, we did add wood pellets, which are used.
It was to make it not just reliable on fuel oil.
Correct. And they are used in the shoulder seasons. But for the colder weather, we have had oil fired boilers. We will be converting to propane. So the wood pellets will continue to be used, or those burners, but they are more in the shoulder seasons, kind of the beginning, late fall and kind of early spring. And we are going to propane.
Other questions or discussion? Gentlemen, right in back of you there, right here. Right there, yeah, there you go.
Hi, Bruce Jones, Meredith. 2 questions. I'm wondering if the board could talk about what would happen if you didn't pass this bond. And the second question is, I saw something about an expendable trust. And I was wondering if the board could talk a little bit and help educate those of us who don't know what an expendable trust is. And I'm kind of wondering why that's not tapped into for some of this.
Your first question regarding the boilers. The boilers are going on 35 years old. We've had them inspected a couple times now, actually, and we aren't buying green bananas for them anymore, basically. And so we've been fortunate we haven't had an issue. So to stay in front of it so that we don't have an issue, because when you do have an issue in an emergency situation, it costs so much more. We want to do it while we're under control. I'm sorry, what was the second question? Expendable trust. Expendable trusts, yes, we do, but those are our rainy day fund. We'd much rather go ahead and do this up front. So for example, with some of the recent talk of funding being cut and that sort of thing, those are the sorts of, if that does happen, that's the time that we would look to tap into those sorts of reserves, not in a regular course of business. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? This gentleman here, he's coming down and back here, sir.
Kind of a couple questions.
Your name and town?
Jonathan James, Gould Avenue, Meredith. This bond, what will we end up paying for interest overall? And to add to that, man, the town does a lot of expendable trust so that we don't pay interest when we go to buy something. And so I'm curious how much interest we're going to be paying.
I apologize. I was trying to get an answer to your first question. So I missed your second question, Mr. James.
My first question and only, I think, was how much interest are you going to end up paying on this bond over probably, it looks like 5 years to me.
So the highest interest would be $202,500.
Total?
Yes, and this would be a range. Once it's approved, then we have to go to the bond market. We do have an estimate from them as well as from a local bank as well. And so the highest amount is $202,500 over the life of the bond.
The other is, now that we have a different gentleman in the White House, and says drill, 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 it looks like oil is going to be much cheaper than propane gas. And so I'm wondering why you picked propane. And when you originally put in the pellet boilers, and I had a guided tour, and I may be old and forgetful, but I thought that I was told that the pellet boilers really ran most of the winter and that the old boilers were the backup for spring and fall. Now we're telling us just the opposite.
So in terms of the decision to move to propane, certainly are living in a changing time. We have built some infrastructure to support propane. It is a cleaner fuel. And I'm not sure in terms of, what information, prior that you had received relative to the wood pellets, but in actuality, they are the shoulder seasons and the boilers, current oil boilers and the proposed propane are really the muscle of the winter months.
Any other questions or comments?
Karen Stick for Meredith. Just to get back to Bruce's comments about the expendable trust, I'm looking on page 13 and seeing the Facilities Expendable Trust does have $620,526 in it. What is that being saved for?
Page 13 of your auxiliary materials, so not your annual report. I think the reference for page 13 is on, has the breakdown of the pie chart for the various expendable trusts. The expendable trust, the last time that it had a major draw from it was to support the replacement of the turf field, which again, if you think about it, I think we are year 3 that we've been on that field. And so it was used, a significant amount had been drawn down to support that replacement. And so it really has been earmarked more for, emergencies that may come up, or again, later on down the road with that planned replacement, again, for the turf field, that may be something the board will consider.
Did you not just replace the turf field? And didn't you use COVID money?
No, the turf field was, the money that was used for the turf field primarily came from the expendable trust fund. The turf field is 3 years in, and it probably has a life expectancy of 10 years.
Okay, well, I would recommend personally that you take at least the interest. Now you're looking at $1.7 million instead of $1.5 million with $200,000 of interest. I would hope that you could maybe take $200,000 out of the expendable trust, so we're still back at $1.5 million personally.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions? Seeing none. This is a bond vote. It's done by secret ballot. If you look on your voter cards, down in the lower right-hand corner, there's one that says vote number 1. Use that card. It comes apart, rips out. We'll have one of the ballot boxes down here to use, one of the ballot boxes up there to use. Only use vote number 1. I can't emphasize that enough. Do not use any of the other tear strips on there, because it will be counted as a spoil ballot. So the ballot boxes will open at 6:22. They have to remain open for 1 hour according to state law. So they will remain open till 7:22. When we feel that people have voted, we can continue with the other business of the meeting while we're waiting for the hour to go up. And we'll go from there. So at this time, use this ballot box and the one in the back there, and please use orderly lines.
Yeah, but question. All that I know about fires and furnaces and chips would suggest that the real answer to the question is that you can't change the temperature from back to back. rapidly
Hello.
with wood chips. It doesn't heat up or cool down as fast as fossil fuel. So
Defer to the engineer.
and you can see it's been misworded in here because it's referring to two boilers, whereas, as you know, there's two boilers in each building. That's one assumption. And that's what, it's a simple question.
Right through the voting. I'm very impressed. If anybody hasn't had a chance to vote yet, please do so. You have the next 55 minutes. So, meanwhile, we'll move on to Article number 2. To see what action the district will vote relative to the reports of agents, committees, or officers chosen. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second by Nancy Stormer. Is there any questions, any reports? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on to Article number 3. Oh, you're right. There's really nothing to vote on, but all those in favor of Article 2, raise your voting cards. Article 3, to anybody opposed? A few. Article 2 passes. Article 3, to see if the district will set the salaries of district officers for the coming year as follows. Moderator, $100. District clerk, $20 an hour. School board chairperson, $1,800. School board members, 6 each, $1,500. District treasurer, $1,500. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move the article as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded for Article 3. Any discussion? Any discussion or comment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 3, raise your voting cards. All those opposed? Article 3 passes. Article 4, and we have a request for a secret ballot for Article 4. Are the 5 people who signed this here? Raise your hands. Okay. Article 4, to see if the district will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $34,912,337 for the support of schools, for the payment of salaries, for the school district officials and agents, and for the payment of statutory obligations of the district. This article excludes special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately. The Interlake School Board recommends this appropriation, and this will only require a majority vote. Is there a motion?
I motion to move it forward, Mr. Moderator.
Second?
Mr. Moderator, I second the motion.
Article 4 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions?
Karen Stick Meredith. I need to compliment the person on page 2. Well, it's in the supplement with the charts, historical New Hampshire state system trend. I would like to compliment the graphics on this because it actually looks like we're going way up. However, if you put a graphic in that's 100%, instead of just 60 or 40 or 50, I don't think we're doing that well. And I think we could be doing a lot better for $35 million. So just a few things that I think we might improve upon. One, we seem to hire a lot of special ed administrators. And I know normally a school district of our size just has one at the SAU level, and they oversee, the employees. Now last year we had to buy one for the elementary school, and this year we're buying one for the high school. And I just think it's overload on administrators, where it seems like our special ed budget is just growing and growing and growing. So I think it's overkill on administrators, and I would like to see us to improve our ratings, our standards, get back to the basics of education with academics, art, music, and sports. Celebrate those who work the hardest. And I really think, because I used to teach, for some reason, the entire varsity basketball team at one point decided to learn German. And they all signed up for my class. And on Fridays, they had to dress up. For game days, they all had to wear ties and shirts. And you can't believe the difference in behavior when people have to look nice. And I really think that we're kind of missing the boat academically, even by not having a better dress code for faculty and for students. I pick up my grandkids sometimes, and I think that they're celebrating pajama day, but they're not. So I would like to see things like that. I would like to see hats taken off in school, phones put away, and if anybody thinks they identify as an animal, just cut it off. I would encourage competition for grades at the high school level, and I would spend money on all students and look for grants and negotiate things like transportation. So those are a few things that I won't be voting for this budget because I think it's highly inflated with a lot of stuff that we don't need. Thank you.
Gentleman over here has a question.
Good evening. My name is Richard DeMarc. I'm a resident and registered voter in Meredith. I'm extremely concerned that our legislature, executive council, actions by our governor and our current federal administration will continue to erode our state's ability to provide high-quality education. In this current state of affairs, I applaud the school board for the budget it has proposed, and I feel it's necessary for our communities to support this proposed budget. I also feel that voters ought to be extremely concerned about these trends and elect people who actually care about public education.
Any other questions? Comments, questions?
My name is Alyssa Yolda. I'm a resident of Meredith, and I have two children, one at the Interlakes Middle School and another at the Interlakes Elementary School. My comment is actually related to a reduction, which of course nobody wants to pay more, but I think it's important to talk about what we're reducing, not just what we're increasing. One of the things that it appears is going to be going away is the reduction of the position for the elementary world language teacher at ILES. I remember, I think it was 6 years ago when the Spanish program was removed from the curriculum and it was shifted to a world cultures program. This is a little bit concerning. I strongly hope that there is an actual plan in place and not just, exploring options and how the curriculum can still be incorporated into every day without that world cultures program actually existing or a dedicated teacher for it. In a time when there's a lot of loud voices at and messaging at even our topmost national leadership, it's very anti-immigrant, anti-diversity. I think it's more important than ever that we provide educational opportunities for the children in our communities to learn more about other cultures, understand them, learn more about other values, and just things beyond our own communities, whether those children grow up and leave these communities or stay here. I just think it's a really important part of their education and an important piece to our kids becoming global citizens. So I hope that, like I said, there is that plan in place and that educational component is not lost. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions? All right. Oh, yeah.
Hi, Mike Brower, Meredith.
Hold the microphone.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm usually too loud at home. Okay. I got a questions on enrollment because I graduated in 1976. We had about 70 students that graduated. I have two daughters that graduated, one in 2007, 2010. 2007, I was told, was the highest enrollment. She just told me there were about 116. I see last year there was 65, which is a little bit lower than when I graduated, and had about half the staff and half the buildings. So I read statistics on the Meredith report that there were 26 births last year and 117 deaths. And with 26 births, I don't know how many are in Center Harbor. Okay, well, all right. So I don't know if there's a lot of in-migration, but my concern is what is the plan with a decreasing enrollment, or is it a lot of in-migration of people with families that are keeping, it's kind of flattening the enrollment because it's getting to a point where all we're doing is paying to heat all the buildings and all the space we have and not that many students.
So one of the things that the board has been looking at is our natural attrition points. And if you look at your supplemental materials, they're on page, I think there were 5 positions that were looked at this year that were natural attrition points with retirements. Based on our current numbers in certain classes, 4 of those positions were to be maintained, one of them being a preschool teacher. We only have 2 preschool teachers, and that's actually on page 12, the chart, the analysis. The world language was a decision made to, again, trying to address, the declining enrollment and what we recognize are increasing costs. We have fluctuations. We have some class sizes right now that are in the 80s. We have some class sizes that are closer to probably 60. So there are bubbles that are working their way through, and we're trying to shift staff and use staff where those bubbles are and where they make sense, and to be mindful of what we're doing in terms of trying to see if there are ways that people can teach multiple subject areas, looking at micro assignments so that a teacher is able to do more than just one particular content area, particularly at the middle high school level.
Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? Anybody?
Actually, I just have 2 comments. I would say, as a Center Harbor resident, school board member, and also a parent of a 3rd grader, and then 1 student that's about to go into kindergarten. Personally, I just speaking for myself, I don't like to leave the questions open. So I think for the world cultures, I would say for myself, and we looked at that pretty hard, and I think we do have a good plan that we feel comfortable with for the students that are at school. Just as a parent, I would say that, because I had the same question. And the other thing, just around the enrollment too, I would say, looking at the whole state, I was looking at some of it, the state is down, I think 10% just on child enrollment in schools across the entire state. So we're not alone on that. And I think, as Mary mentioned, we're trying to balance the natural attrition with being responsible for the budget for the taxpayers and knowing that. So I think, when we looked at all of that, we put all that together. That's where we came up with the school budget for this year. But it's not just a problem here, it's a problem across the entire state of New Hampshire.
The board is undertaking strategic planning, and people did receive an invitation when you came in this evening. So there'll be an opportunity for community events in each of the towns. Our hope is that people will attend, because these are part of those conversations as we look to how you want to shape and what you would like to have your schools look like in the coming years. And making decisions based on the strategic plan was certainly something that was a driving force behind trying to undertake that project.
Any other questions, comments?
Yes, I'm looking at your proposed staffing adjustments, and I realize it says that 2 custodians are retiring. Are we replacing them? Because none of these buildings have gotten any smaller, and I don't think you have kids cleaning the rooms, so I'm just curious.
So the reduction for the 2 custodians is not through retirement. The reality is we've not been able to fill those positions, and they've been positions we have been carrying through the budget process without being able to fill. So the decision was to reduce that in the budget, again, trying to find a way to control cost, with the idea that as we look at fund balance potentially at the end of this school year, possibly carrying forward some money to continue some of those positions, or possibly utilize a contracted service. We are piloting that at the moment to try to assist with some cleaning in the evening. So it's been a really difficult staffing spot for us. We've just not been able to fill those positions.
Having worked at a school for 10 years, I can relate to some of that. I did find that when we did contract service, it ended up costing about twice as much as if I hired somebody. They always used to claim that the only thing you got rid of was a liability, but that's not true. When their insurance runs out, they go for you. Just to clarify something, having talked with your head maintenance person, the pellet boiler runs year round, but it cannot run the plant. And in the winter, when it gets cold, the oil boiler is also there to work it. Now, the oil boiler can run the whole place, but the pellet boiler can't, just so people understand.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions, comments?
Hi there, Carissa Elphick, parent and registered voter in Meredith. I just had a question if any of the budget is at risk with the federal funding freeze on any programs.
So at the last school board meeting, we did look at a contingency plan should the federal funds that we do receive be either less or eliminated. Particularly, so Title I is a substantial for us. We have 4 paraeducator positions and a reading teacher or interventionist teacher at ILES. We also have IDEA funds, which supports special education, some staffing positions. So we did develop a contingency plan, how we would shift some things around to be able to support that, which would include going to the expendable trust for special education.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Gentlemen?
Ben Yolda, Meredith resident. Just want to speak to the administrator for special education. I work a day job where I interact with those student coordinators on a regular basis. I'm a senior supervisor for child protection DCYF. And if we ended up removing a child out of district, it close to cost the district over almost $100,000 a year. So to having somebody that's dedicated at every level in our school to coordinate their care without us having to remove a child and put him out of district in a residential facility is going to save us thousands of dollars. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, if you go back to your voter cards and use vote number 2. Vote number 2. Only use vote number 2. Well, yeah, this is a second vote. It's not. Pardon me? Okay. There being an issue with using voter number 2, we'll go to vote number 4.
No, that's not how that works. It's the second secret ballot, and that is why you do vote number 2. It's not Article 4, and it's not Article 2. It is vote number 2 that is done by secret ballot.
Okay. There were some issues with that. I guess the first time I wasn't clear enough, but so we'll go with vote number 2. Vote number 2, lower corner over here. Again, vote yes or no. This is a simple majority vote, and the ballot box will not need to remain open for an hour. When everybody's done voting, we'll open the box and count the votes. This is the box. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's the box. Okay. Anybody else need to vote at this time? Anybody else? Last call. Anybody need to vote? Okay, if you'll give us a few minutes, we'll total up what we have. Okay, while they're totaling up the ballots, we will take up the last business article, number 5, to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting. Is there anybody who has anything to say? Any other business to transact? You can't raise money under this article, but is there a motion to accept it? Somebody? Yeah. Yeah. Would somebody from the floor please choose to move the article? Abby Hambrook from Sandwich, Amanda Twaddle from Sandwich, moved and seconded. Yeah? No, we can count while we're doing this. Yeah. We can't close the meeting. We can't accept a motion to close the meeting until the hour is up on the ballot. So there's no other business anybody has? All right. We should have this counted up in just a second. All those in favor of moving on from Article 5, raise your voter cards. Those opposed? Okay. Two. Oh, good. Okay. Yep, I see it right there. Yep. Yep. The final count on Article 4 is 72 in favor, 13 opposed. 72 in favor, 13 opposed. So Article 4 passes. The ballot boxes on Article 1 remain open till 6:22. Excuse me, 7:22. We started at 6:22. If you want to wait around to find out the outcome of that, you're welcome to visit the cafeteria, where they have some music provided by the Sandwich Central School students on piano, Orion Carr, on guitar, Max Wiener. Light refreshments are also available. And if you come back at just a hair after 7:22, we'll be able to count up the ballots on Article number 2. Sir.
Mr. Moderator, may I make a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article 4?
There's a Mr. Minor from Sandwich.
I'm sorry, Tim Minor, Sandwich.
Has made a motion to restrict reconsideration of Article 4. Is there a second to that?
Guy Donnelly, Meredith, New Hampshire, I second that.
So it's moved and seconded to restrict reconsideration on Article number 4. That means it will stand as it is. You can't come back at it again. Any questions, comments on that?
Jonathan James Meredith, curious question. How could we close the ballot on the budget with not an hour going? In this article, we have to wait an hour. It makes.
This isn't a bond article. This was a simple majority article.
Okay,
According
thank you.
to state law, the bond article has to stay open for an hour. Seeing no other, wait, there's a lady up there. You have a question?
I just have a question. If the outcome of the bond vote is yay, nay, I understand that what we're talking about right now is that nothing can go back and be changed about Article 4. Does that mean that if the bond fails, it can't be taken up to take that money out of the budget or something? Like, I'm just trying to understand what happens if we all leave and that fails, then will other things be brought up and discussed, and could things be changed?
Okay. What we're talking for now is strictly Article number 4. Article number 1, which was the bond vote, is still open pending the count. So theoretically, after it counts and if it passes or fails, a motion can be made for reconsideration of the article. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article 4, raise your voting cards. All those opposed? So you have now restricted reconsideration of Article number 4. Again, we have about 23 minutes before we can open the other ballot boxes. So if you want to get up, stretch your legs. They have refreshments and music in the cafeteria. See you back here about 7:22.
just came in this week. And we're also offering banner sponsorships on the fence. And I want to thank the companies right now that have donated those. 1 second. Joe Boxer Plumbing and Heating, Thomas and Son are teaching well, Meredith Landing Real Estate, thank you, Bronwyn. Hart's Turkey Farm, Hannaford Supermarket, and then some families have come in with some big donations. Rusty McClear, the Clear family, my family, the Jones family, the Hackett family, and maybe your family or somebody you know or grandparent could give to this. So, big round of applause for the support that we've gotten from the superintendent, from her staff, Sarah, and Brian, and a few other people, and from all of the board members. We really appreciate working with them in this kind of fundraising effort to upgrade our school. We think it's going to be great for the whole community. I want to add to that we are probably one of the few schools left that does not have this. And so if we can all nudge somebody in Meredith, or somebody in Center Harbor, or somebody in Sandwich, or even some football players in Milton, and see if we can get some help in place. We need your help. I have a table outside. It's going to be on your right just as you leave. We've got some paperwork and things like that to learn more. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Bruce. The final vote on Article number 1 was 69 in favor and 16 opposed. So Article 1 passes.
Mr. Moderator, motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Remember to vote in your town elections next week.